So we have TypeScript ready to go. This next part is a little bit of the part where people kind of get turned off from using Angular. Now remember though, a lot of the setup for Angular 2 is because we want to use all of these forward-thinking features that are in ES6, but browsers don't yet support them. That's why we have to bring in TypeScript. That's why we are bringing in these Angular dependencies, and that's why we're bringing in a System.js, which is our loader. So in order to use these great new ES6 features, we have to bring in core.js, shim, which is just a shim which monkey patches a couple things onto our browsers so that we can get some ES6 features in them. We bring in a really cool package called zone.js, and what zone.js does is it creates an execution context around our application. In layman terms, what this means is that if you've ever been in Angular 1 and tried to track down an error that showed up in your console, it was near impossible. Zone.js makes it so that we know the entire stack of where your application is running, and if an error occurs, it can tell you on what line, in what file, and why. One of the best things about Angular 2 as opposed to Angular 1 is real, important, and useful error messages. Reflect metadata is a package that allows us to create decorator metadata for our classes. It's really simple syntax that we can add onto our ES6 classes so that we can add metadata to those classes. Angular 2 uses these extensively when creating web components and other things around the framework. We'll explore that a lot when we start building our Angular app. Now, the Angular 1 library was all about promises. In Angular 2, we're going to use a library called RxJS. And if you've ever heard the term go reactive or make our apps reactive, RxJS is going to be a set of libraries that helps us do this. RxJS helps us create a set of asynchronous data streams using observables. And observables can be seen as the step up from promises. They give us a lot of extra stuff, like the ability to subscribe to a data stream. That way we can open it up, and if new content comes in, we can use that observable and pass in new data. We can also say that if an observable tries to get some data and is met with an error, we can tell that observable to retry and go get that data again, maybe after 3-5 seconds. Compare that across to a promise where you would have to actually look for that and run it yourself. RxJS is a great set of libraries that gives us a lot of cool things, and mostly we'll see it in the Angular 2 HTTP library. The last one we've talked about a little bit is System.js. We're going to bring this in so that we can load different modules across different files in our browser. Let's install all these Angular dependencies. Back in the command line, open up a new tab, cd ng2 starter. We'll run npm install. We needed core.js, we needed reflect metadata, we needed zone.js, RxJS, and a caveat right now is 5.0-beta.6. And this is just a requirement necessary for Angular 2 release candidate 5 right now. And we'll also get System.js. And save. There we go. We have those dependencies in our application now. It's good to know what these dependencies do and why they're in our application. Right now, we don't have to go into a deep dive of each of those packages, but it's good to know that they're in our application and a little bit about what they do. Now that we've gotten the core dependencies that we need, let's start moving forward and getting the Angular packages that we need.